is the chilling tale of the floating coffin of Charles Coghlan, a legend as haunting as the sea that carried it. Charles Coghlan, a celebrated actor born on Prince Edward Island, Canada, met his end far from home on November the 27th, 1899 in Galveston, Texas. His body was interred in a stately vault in Lakeview Cemetery, where it was thought to rest in peace. But the sea had other plans. The following year, in September 1900, the infamous Galveston hurricane struck with apocalyptic fury. Winds howled like banshees, and the surging waves claimed thousands of lives, including the dead already buried in the earth. Among the storm's grisly victims was Coghlan's coffin, torn from its resting place and cast into the raging Gulf waters. For years nothing was heard of the coffin's fate until a tale began to emerge. One whispered with disbelief and dread. According to legend, the coffin, guided by some unseen hand, or perhaps by Coghlan's unfulfilled yearning for home, drifted through the Gulf of Mexico, up the Atlantic coast, and across the icy waters, eventually washing ashore on the rugged shores of Prince Edward Island. There, it was said, his remains were laid to rest at last in the land of his birth, completing a ghostly journey of thousands of miles. Though modern accounts debunk the fantastical end of the legend, claiming his coffin was discovered in 1907, partially submerged in a marsh just 9 miles from Galveston, the eerie myth endures. Ripley's Believe It or Not immortalised the story in 1929, solidifying its place in folklore. Even now, the tale of Charles Coghlan's floating coffin remains a ghostly reminder of nature's wrath and the strange forces that seem to guide the dead. Whispers linger of his spirit still haunting the restless seas, a man forever tethered to the tides that carried him home. James Dean's untimely death in 1955 left an eerie shadow over Hollywood, a legacy of rebellion and tragedy. But it was not just his passing that stirred the imaginations of millions. It was the dark legend surrounding his beloved Porsche 550 Spider, ominously nicknamed Little Bastard. The car, the very machine in which Dean met his end on a lonely California highway, would go on to become infamous in its own right, woven into a web of curses, accidents, and unexplained events that would haunt anyone who dared come near it. Dean, known for his fascination with speed, had poured his passion into the sleek silver Porsche, a car that felt like an extension of his own persona. Dangerous, alluring, and defiant. Friends warned him about the car, claiming it gave off a sinister aura, but Dean shrugged off their concerns. Some even said they'd had visions of his death behind its wheel. Yet, on September 30th, 1955, as Dean raced down Route 466, Little Bastard met its fate, colliding with another vehicle in a brutal accident that killed him instantly. But while Dean's life ended that day, the story of Little Bastard had only just begun. The wreckage of the car was carted off, twisted and mangled, a ghostly reminder of the tragedy. Yet, for some, the remnants held a dark allure. People began to scavenge parts from the Porsche, hoping to claim a piece of history. But they would soon realise that they had taken more than just a piece of metal. They had inherited a curse. The parts from Dean's Little Bastard seemed to carry with them a thirst for destruction. disaster upon any who dared touch it. The first victim was a mechanic who purchased the car's engine and installed it into his own race car. During his first race with the engine, he lost control, careening off the track and meeting his death in a fiery crash. Another racer, who had taken the transmission from Dean's Porsche, suffered a near-identical fate, his vehicle flipping violently on a seemingly safe track. Both men perished, their deaths eerily mirroring Dean's own tragic end, as if the spirit of Little Bastard demanded more lives. Other parts of the car met equally chilling fates. 2 tyres taken from the Porsche blew out simultaneously, causing the driver's car to swerve off the road and overturn, leaving him gravely injured. Those who witnessed the crash claimed that the tyres had seemed perfectly fine beforehand, as if they'd been sabotaged by an unseen force. Another story tells of a physician who purchased the Porsche's blood-stained seats, hoping to restore them, only to find his home inexplicably caught in a blaze soon after, destroying not only the seats, but his life's belongings. The fire's cause was never determined. The twisted remains of Little Bastard were eventually purchased by car customizer George Barris, who intended to display it as a cautionary symbol. But even as a lifeless display, the Porsche continued its path of destruction. In one instance, it fell off its display stand and crushed a nearby bystander's legs. Another time, it slipped loose from its moorings while being transported and killed a truck driver in a horrific accident. It was as if the car itself resented being confined, lashing out at anyone who dared contain it. The final mystery came in 1960, when Little Bastard was in transit to a museum exhibit. Somewhere along the journey, the cursed wreck simply vanished. No one could account for its disappearance, and to this day, Little Bastard remains lost, its twisted metal and dark history dissolved into thin air. Rumours abound, with some believing the car escaped to fulfill its unholy mission, others saying it was buried to rid the world of its curse, and a few even speculating that it reappears now and then, hidden in a collector's vault, waiting to be unleashed once more. The tale of Little Bastard endures, an urban legend of fear and fascination. For those who hear it, there's an uneasy question. Could a machine be haunted, possessed by the spirit of its past? Let's journey into the haunting forests of Veracruz, where ancient whispers tell of mysterious creatures called the Chenecas. Close your eyes, relax, and let their eerie legend guide you to sleep. In the dense, untamed forests of Veracruz, whispers of an ancient terror linger, the Chenecs. Born from the depths of Aztec mythology, these eerie creatures are believed to dwell between the realms of the living and the underworld. Their sole purpose? To guard the sacred mountains and wild creatures that roam their untamed domains. But these guardians are far from benevolent. The Chenecas are small, no taller than a child, but their appearance is deceptive. They take on the guise of tiny men and women, their forms twisted and contorted, with eyes that glimmer like blackened coals. Their laughter, an eerie, high-pitched sound, echoes through the trees, growing louder the deeper you wander into the forest. Travellers who hear this sound know they've strayed too far into Chenec territory, and once the creatures have set their sights on you, escape is nearly impossible. The air grows thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and rotting leaves, and suddenly you'll realise that the path you were following has vanished. The trees around you seem to close in, and the familiar sounds of the forest, bird song, the rustling of leaves, fall deathly silent. stand between the trees, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Their soft whispers crawl inside your head, filling your mind with confusion and dread. Legends say that the Shanek possess a terrifying power. They can steal a person's tonali, the very essence of one's soul. Once taken, the victim is left wandering in a daze, trapped in a state of confusion and fear. Days turn to weeks, and the unfortunate traveller begins to wither, their mind unravelling until they are but a hollow shell of their former self. To those who manage to escape the forest, the ordeal never truly ends. They say that the Shanekes curse their victims with endless nightmares and strange illnesses, their whispers haunting them long after they've left the woods behind. The only way to break free is to return to the forest and appease the Shaneks with offerings of food or valuables. A dangerous proposition, for those who return rarely make it out alive. In the dark, shadowy depths of the forest, the Shaneks wait, ever watchful. For once you enter their domain, you belong to them, and they will not let you go. Tonight, we journey to Iowa City, where the eerie legend of the Black Angel awaits. Let the mysterious tale of this cursed statue guide you into a peaceful and restful sleep. Black Annis, also known as Black Agnes or Black Anna, is a chilling figure in English folklore, described as a terrifying hag with a blue face, sharp iron claws, and a fierce hunger for human flesh. She lurks in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. According to the legend, Black Annis once lived in a cave in the Dane Hills near Leicester, which she is said to have carved out herself using only her iron claws. The entrance of her cave was surrounded by a large oak tree, from which she would emerge to hunt her prey. Her most infamous targets were children and young animals. The legend says that Black Annis would creep into the nearby villages under the cover of nightfall, dragging children back to her cave to devour them. She would skin her victims and hang their hides on the branches of her oak tree, using them to make clothing for herself during the harsh winters. Parents in the area used the tale of Black Annis as a way to scare their children into behaving or staying indoors after dark. The mere mention of her name would be enough to keep children obedient and fearful of wandering too far from home. Some versions of the legend claim that Black Annis could stretch her long arms through windows to snatch disobedient children from their beds if they didn't close their shutters at night. Despite her terrifying reputation, Black Annis also played a role in explaining natural phenomena. Her dark cave, according to local law, was believed to be an old burial site or a den she carved in the hillside. Some believed that her presence symbolised the harshness of nature, particularly the long, unforgiving winters that plagued the countryside. Over time, the tale of Black Annis grew in popularity and spread beyond the villages, becoming part of Leicester's folklore. Some say her spirit still haunts the area, while others believe she was merely a cautionary figure created to instill fear in children and protect them from the dangers of the wilderness. Today, Black Annis remains a symbol of fear and darkness in English folklore. Her legacy lives on as one of the most terrifying urban legends, reminding people of the thin line between the safety of home and the lurking dangers of the outside world. We dive into the eerie legend of the Chonchon, a mythical creature that haunts the night skies. Let its chilling tale lull you into a peaceful sleep, if you dare. Deep in the shadowy forests of Chile and southern Argentina, an ancient terror lurks in the night, whispered in hushed tones among villagers. The Chonchon is no ordinary creature. Its very existence defies nature, sending shivers down the spines of those who dare speak its name. Legend has it that the Chonchon is not a bird, but a cursed being, a sorcerer who has performed a dark ritual to transform into this horrifying creature. In the dead of night, the sorcerer's head detaches from its body, sprouting enormous wings from the ears. Blood-curdling cries, like the screams of 1,000 tormented souls, signal its arrival. The sound, known as tutu, chills the air, forewarning death for anyone who hears it. They say the Chonchon soars through the night skies in search of prey, gliding silently above the rooftops of unsuspecting villages. Those unfortunate enough to cross its path rarely live to tell the tale. It is said that the Chonchon can slip into homes undetected, like a whisper on the wind, draining the life force of its victims, leaving them pale and hollow by dawn. Those who survive its attack are left forever haunted, their minds shattered by the encounter. Many have tried to catch a glimpse of the Chonchon, but only a few ever return from their hunts, and those who do are never the same again. Their descriptions are fragmented, as though the horror of what they witnessed burned itself into their minds. The Chonchon's eyes, they say, are glowing red orbs, filled with a malevolent intelligence far older than time. Its wings beat with unnatural silence, a deadly predator slipping through the night like a phantom. It is said that only the most skilled of shamans can undo the curse of the Chonchon, but these rituals are dangerous, and failure means the sorcerer's twisted form will be free to wreak havoc for eternity. To this day, villagers lock their doors and windows tight when they hear the faintest whisper of the Chonchon's cry. The wind, though invisible, might carry death with it, for the Chonchon does not rest. It hungers, always searching for its next victim, always lurking in the darkness, just out of sight. So, beware the stillness of the night, for you may never know if the next faint flap of wings you hear belongs to the Chonchon, until it's too late. Along the mist-shrouded waters of Wyoming's Platte River, locals whisper of a spectral vessel that has haunted the river for centuries. Known as the Death Ship of the Platte River, this ghostly apparition appears suddenly, cutting through the fog with an unnatural silence that chills even the bravest souls who witness it. Those who have seen it claim it's no ordinary ship, but a cursed harbinger of doom, a warning of death for those unfortunate enough to catch a glimpse of its decaying masts and spectral crew. The ship is said to be a battered, ancient vessel, its once proud sails now tattered and hanging limply, though no wind stirs them. The entire ship glows with an eerie, grey light, casting an unnatural pallor over the river as it moves silently, with no sign of rippling water to mark its path. Its wooden hull appears worn and rotting, covered in strange mosses and barnacles, yet it glides as if untouched by time. Witnesses recount that the ghostly ship seems to be staffed by a crew of shadowy figures, barely distinguishable from the mist that clings to the riverbanks. These phantom sailors stand deathly still, their hollow eyes staring blankly ahead, as though seeing a world beyond the living. The sight of them is enough to paralyze anyone who dares to watch, their forms silent, yet filled with an overwhelming sense of dread. According to legend, those who see the death ship of the Platte River are destined to witness a death, often their own or that of someone close to them. Stories tell of pioneers and river travellers who encountered the ghostly vessel and soon after met tragic ends. One tale describes a fisherman who spotted the ship gliding down the river on a foggy morning. Mesmerised, he watched as one of the ghostly sailors extended a bony hand and pointed directly at him. Within days the man fell ill, his life draining away under mysterious circumstances. Another chilling account recalls a young couple who were boating on the river at dusk when the ship emerged from the fog. They watched in horror as the crew seemed to look straight through them, their empty eyes filled with a cold indifference to the living. Days later, the couple's bodies were discovered on the riverbank, their boat overturned, and no explanation for their sudden deaths. The death ship of the Platte River is no mere phantom tale. Locals swear by its appearances, warning travellers not to linger by the river when the fog thickens, especially near Alcova and Torrington. It's a grim reminder that some spirits do not rest, and that some waters are forever cursed. The ship drifts onward, a harbinger of death, carrying the souls of its doomed crew, forever bound to the Platte's dark, winding course. Relax, settle in, and drift off as we unravel the eerie legend of the Catman of Greenock, a mysterious figure lurking in the darkened streets of Scotland, where shadows hide untold secrets. In the darkened streets of Greenock, Scotland, a sinister legend lurks in the shadows, a tale whispered since the 1970s. The Catman of Greenock, a creature both feared and pitied, has haunted the alleyways, becoming a story that locals tell in hushed voices to keep their children close at night. The Catman was said to be human once. No one really knows his name, nor what series of cruel misfortunes led him to crawl through the gutters, scavenging to survive. They say he emerged from the forgotten corners of society, driven by desperation, until his body took on a twisted, primal state. His skin is pallid, coated with grime and dirt, his eyes sunken, but glinting with an animalistic gleam. The Catman scuttles along the alleys and underpasses, always staying close to the ground, moving with an unsettling feline grace. It is said that he survives on rats, devouring them with his bare hands. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen him in the dead of night, his filthy fingers closing around a writhing rodent, sinking his teeth into the squirming creature, the crunch of bone and squeal of his prey echoing faintly against the bricks. The very sight of it sends shivers down the spine, a glimpse of a forgotten human reduced to something almost feral. Yet, it's not just the rats that keep the Catman company. Rumours tell of a colony of wild cats that live alongside him, creatures drawn to him by some inexplicable bond. They say he cares for them, shares his meals with them, and they, in turn, protect him. A grim pact between the lost and the forsaken. Locals swear they've seen him surrounded by these creatures, his bony hands stroking their mangy fur as if they were his only family. To some, he's become a twisted guardian of the alleyways, a protector of the stray and forgotten. People say if you wander the outskirts of Greenock at night, you might just catch a glimpse of him, eyes glowing like those of the wild cats staring from the shadows. The bravest claim to have seen his crooked silhouette crawling across the ground, always close to his feline companions. Some who have dared to approach say they've heard him hiss, a low, guttural warning knows where the Catman sleeps, or if he ever does. He vanishes with the sunrise, retreating to some dark hole beneath the streets, leaving only unease in his wake. To see the Catman of Greenock is to witness a living nightmare, a reminder of how close we all are to the edge of something monstrous, something forgotten, something no longer entirely human. Let's drift into the eerie whispers of Eastern Europe, where a mysterious black car roamed the streets, haunting, silent, and deadly. Welcome to the legend of the Black Volga. The Black Volga is an urban legend that circulated in Eastern Europe, especially during the 1960s and 1970s. It centres around a mysterious black Volga limousine that was allegedly used to abduct people, particularly children. According to the legend, the car would appear suddenly on quiet streets, driven by unknown figures, often described as government agents, priests, or even supernatural beings like vampires or the devil himself. The rumours varied from region to region, but one constant remained. Anyone who saw the Black Volga or came too close to it would disappear without a trace. In some versions, the victims were taken for organ harvesting, while others claimed they were used in bizarre occult rituals. Children were the most common targets, vanishing after being approached by the ominous vehicle, leading to widespread fear among parents. Some believed the kidnappings were part of a larger government conspiracy, while others suspected that foreign powers or even secret societies were behind the abductions. The vehicle itself, typically a black Volga, Gazi 21 or Gazi 24, became synonymous with fear. The dark windows, the eerie silence as it moved, and the inability to identify the driver or passengers added to the sense of dread. In some accounts, the Volga had red curtains, horns, or other demonic features. The myth grew as people claimed to see the car speeding through the neighbourhoods or lurking near schools and playgrounds. Although there is no substantial evidence to support these claims, the Black Volga legend played into the anxieties of the time, when people lived under oppressive regimes and feared the unknown. The cold, controlling nature of Soviet rule, combined with stories of disappearances, fueled paranoia. The legend of the Black Volga became a way to explain the unexplainable. A person goes missing, and the car was blamed. Over time, the story evolved and spread beyond Eastern Europe, becoming part of a broader tapestry of urban legends. Though the panic surrounding the Black Volga has faded, it remains a chilling reminder of how fear can drive communities to believe in the darkest of tales. In the shadows of Terrell, Texas, whispers and warnings have woven a chilling legend through the generations. A tale that clings to the fringes of nightmare and reality. They call her the Candy Lady, but behind the innocuous name lurks a sinister spectre named Clara Crane, whose story has haunted the town for over a century. The legend began in the early 1900s, when children in Terrell started to vanish without a trace. Desperate parents scoured the land, dredging the creeks and combing through the thickets, but none could unearth any sign of their missing offspring. As the community groped for answers, a disturbing pattern emerged. Children reported finding candies on their windowsills, pieces of caramels wrapped in crinkling parchment paper, with tiny notes urging them to come out and play. The notes were always signed with a simple, eerie C. Whispered tales from older folks traced the unsettling gifts back to Clara Crane, a woman once known among the townsfolk. Clara, they said, had lived on the fringes of Tyrrell, a reclusive and peculiar widow, whose only solace after the death of her abusive husband was her young daughter. Her life spiralled into darkness when her daughter mysteriously died, with local gossip suggesting foul play. The town shunned her, whispering that she had gone mad with grief, her mind twisted by the tragedy. Some said she blamed the children of Tyrrell for her loss, believing they had enticed her daughter into some fatal mischief. After her daughter's death, Clara vanished into obscurity, leaving only the decrepit shell of her home as a testament to her existence. But the story of the Candy Lady did not end with her disappearance. It was as if her spirit, unquelled by death or reason, continued to seek vengeance. The candies kept appearing, each piece an eerie invitation from beyond the grave. The most unsettling accounts involve letters found with the older children, written as if Clara herself were conversing with them from the shadows. These letters were more sinister, promising the children their fill of sweets in life and in death. It was as if Clara was crafting a congregation of souls, luring the innocent with sugar-coated deceit. Late at night, when the moon cast a ghostly glow across the fields, some claimed to see a figure near the edge of the woods, a silhouette of a woman in a tattered gown, her face obscured by the darkness. They said it was Clara, watching, waiting for her next child to claim. Those who dared to venture too close to the woods at night reported hearing the soft, unsettling melody of a lullaby drifting through the trees, only to be swallowed up by the suffocating silence of the unseen. To this day, the legend of Clara Crane, the Candy Lady, lingers in the air of Tyrrell like a thick fog. Parents tightly secure their windows, wary of the old tale, and remind their children to steer clear of the sweets that might appear unbidden. As Halloween approaches each year, the tension in the town tightens, a collective memory of the loss stirring in the hearts of those who remember. And so, the community watches and waits, the legend of Clara Crane etched deep in their bones, a spectral reminder that some tales are too chilling to be forgotten, and some spirits too vengeful to rest. Hidden within the eerie expanse of Maple Hill Park in Huntsville, Alabama, lies a playground that few dare to visit after dark. Known as the Dead Children's Playground, it sits in the shadow of Maple Hill Cemetery, where countless lives were lost during the brutal Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. Many of these were children, tiny lives cut short by the merciless wave of illness that swept through the town. Their graves, small and silent, line the edges of the cemetery, just steps away from the playground, where swings now creak and echo through the night. As dusk falls, a haunting atmosphere descends upon the playground. Locals warn that the children who perished here never truly left. Strange occurrences have been reported for years. Swings move on their own, the rusted chains rattling as if gripped by invisible hands. In the sand beneath the slide, visitors find tiny footprints that appear suddenly and disappear just as mysteriously. Some who pass by in the evening hours have claimed to hear faint giggles or the distant sound of children calling out, voices carried on an unsettling breeze that seems to chill the very air around it. Witnesses describe seeing shadowy figures darting between the playground equipment, flickering in and out of sight like fading memories. A few brave souls have even claimed to catch glimpses of ghostly children, their pale forms just visible in the moonlight, with hollow, haunting eyes fixed on the swings. Others report feeling an icy touch on their shoulders or a tug at their clothing, as if tiny hands were reaching out, desperate to play just once more. Despite the renovations and new equipment, the playground remains a place haunted by sorrow and loss, as if the spirits of the past refuse to let go. It's said that the restless souls of these children are bound to this place, forever drawn to the playground. They never had the chance to truly enjoy in life. Visitors leave trinkets, small toys and flowers by the swings, hoping to soothe the spirits that linger. For those who know the tale, the Dead Children's Playground is not merely a place for children's laughter, but a portal to something darker. A reminder that some places are scarred by history, with memories and spirits that will not fade, even as time moves on. Let's journey into the mysterious world of the Boo Hags, a spine-chilling urban legend from the Gullah culture. Relax, close your eyes, and let this eerie tale guide you into sleep. The legend of the Boo Hags originates from the Gullah culture, deeply rooted in the coastal regions of South Carolina and Georgia. These skinless, vampire-like witches are said to be evil souls who remain in the mortal world after death, seeking out the living to continue their existence. Unlike traditional vampires, Boo Hags don't drain their victims of blood. Instead, they feed off their breath, leaving their prey exhausted and lifeless. According to the legend, Boo Hags are born from wicked souls who fail to move on to the afterlife. Without their skin, they appear grotesque, raw, red and sinewy, making it impossible for them to blend in with the living. To navigate the human world, Boo Hags steal the skin of their victims, slipping it on like a disguise. Once they've taken someone's skin, they go out into the night to ride. This is a term used to describe their haunting behaviour, where they visit the homes of unsuspecting victims and take control of their bodies while they sleep. The process begins when a Boo Hag silently enters a home, usually through cracks or open windows, as they are believed to be capable of squeezing through the smallest of spaces. Once inside, they sit on the chest of their sleeping target, feeding on their breath and life energy. As the Boo Hag drains its victim, the person will experience intense nightmares, leaving them physically weakened by morning. While the Boo Hag feeds, the victim is paralysed, unable to move or wake. By dawn, the witch leaves its victim, slipping away before anyone realises what happened. However, Boo Hags have a weakness. They must return the skin they've stolen before sunrise, or they will be exposed and destroyed by daylight. If caught without their skin, they are vulnerable and can be easily defeated. To protect themselves, people in Gullah communities often took precautions to ward off these sinister beings. One method involved placing a broom by the door or scattering rice on the floor, as Boo Hags are said to be compelled to count small objects. If a Boo Hag becomes distracted by counting, it won't have enough time to finish before the sun rises, forcing it to retreat to avoid being caught. Another common belief is that painting windowsills and doors blue, a colour thought to repel evil spirits, can keep Boo Hags from entering a home. The colour, known as haint blue, is a staple in many Gullah households, used to protect against a range of supernatural threats, including boo hags. Those unlucky enough to fall victim to a boo hag may wake up feeling completely drained, as if they've run a marathon in their sleep. The exhaustion is a telltale sign that a boo hag visited during the night. If a boo hag becomes particularly attached to a victim, they may return night after night, eventually leading to the victim's death through sheer exhaustion and depletion of life energy. The boo hag legend is a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows of the night. It warns people to be cautious, vigilant, and to protect themselves against malevolent spirits that may be waiting to take their skin for a deadly ride. The story continues to be passed down through generations. In the eerie silence of Bucksport Cemetery, Maine, stands a towering obelisk, a seemingly ordinary monument, yet one that bears a sinister mark. This is the memorial of Jonathan Buck, a man remembered not just for his life, but for the curse that darkens his legacy. Etched onto the stone like an ominous scar is the unmistakable shape of a woman's stocking-clad foot, or perhaps a boot, a symbol both strange and chilling. Legend whispers that Buck, a man of influence in his time, condemned a woman to death for witchcraft. Her screams filled the air as the flames rose, but before she was silenced, she cursed him with her dying breath. "I shall haunt you," she vowed, "and mark your grave as a sign of your cruelty." Townsfolk say Buck scoffed, dismissing her words as the ravings of a vengeful spirit. But as the years passed, the curse began to take form. After Buck's death, an obelisk was raised in his honour. Soon, whispers emerged that a strange mark had appeared. A single, ghostly footprint of a woman's stockinged foot, etched deeply and inexplicably into the stone. No tools could erase it. Attempts to scrub it away only seemed to deepen the impression, as if the spirit herself were renewing her claim. Visitors to the cemetery tell of an unsettling presence around Buck's grave. Some report feeling a chill creeping over them, or catching sight of a shadowy figure in the corner of their eye, an outline of a woman standing near the cursed obelisk, her gaze fixed coldly upon it. Local law insists that this ghostly figure is the woman Buck condemned, bound forever to the stone, her foot branded there as a mark of vengeance. Over the years, strange misfortunes have befallen those who mock the legend or touch the footprint in jest. A man who dared to trace the outline of the foot with his hand fell ill the next day, his fevered dreams haunted by the spectre of a woman's boot pressing down on his chest, as if crushing the breath from him. Others have reported feeling an inexplicable weight upon them, a pressure that lingers long after they've left the cemetery. The curse of Jonathan Buck's memorial endures, a ghostly reminder of a promise made in fire and fury. And so, the warning stands. Those who approach this cursed obelisk may find themselves marked by forces that lie beyond, trapped forever in the shadow of a vengeful spirit's wrath. Welcome to the chilling tale of Mercy Brown, an urban legend from the quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island. Relax, close your eyes, and let this mysterious story take you back in time. In the small, quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island, during the late 19th century, the Brown family was plagued by tragedy. Tuberculosis, a deadly disease with no known cure at the time, had already claimed the lives of several members of the family. The illness was known as consumption, due to how it appeared to wake sliced away its victims. George Brown, the patriarch, watched helplessly as one by one his loved ones fell ill and died. His wife, Mary Eliza, was the first to succumb, followed by his eldest daughter, Mary Olive, both taken within a few short years of each other. Despite these losses, George hoped the worst had passed. However, his youngest daughter, Mercy Brown, soon fell ill with the same symptoms. Mercy was a bright young woman, but tuberculosis did not spare her, and she died in January 1892 at the age of 19. Her death left the Brown family devastated, but the horror was not yet over. Just weeks after Mercy's passing, her brother, Edwin, who had been ill for some time, took a turn for the worse. Fearing for his life, desperate measures were taken, leading to the birth of an enduring legend. At the time, tuberculosis was not well understood, and in many rural communities, fear and superstition spread almost as quickly as the disease itself. In Exeter, some townsfolk began to whisper about the possibility of something more sinister. Could the dead be rising from their graves to drain the life from the living? This idea, while unthinkable to modern sensibilities, was deeply rooted in folklore at the time. In New England, there was a long-standing belief in vampires. Though these vampires were not the glamorous creatures of Gothic fiction, but rather the restless dead rising from their graves to consume the life force of their living relatives. George Brown, despite being a practical man, was persuaded by his neighbours to exhume the bodies of his deceased family members, hoping to find the cause of Edwin's worsening condition. In March of 1892, with the ground still frozen, a small group of men gathered in the graveyard where the Browns were buried. They first dug up the remains of George's wife and eldest daughter, but both had decomposed as expected. Then they turned to Mercy. Unlike the others, Mercy's body was found to be in a strangely preserved state, even though she had been buried for over 2 months. Her skin still appeared relatively intact, and there were even rumours that her body had shifted in the grave, as though she had been moving after death. The most alarming discovery, however, was the presence of fresh blood in her heart and veins. In the chilling lore of baseball history, there is one story whispered among fans that never loses its grip: the curse of the Bambino. The legend began in 1919 when the Boston Red Sox, champions of the World Series, made a grave mistake that would doom them for nearly a century. Seeking funds, the team's owner, Harry Frazee, sold their star player, Babe Ruth, to their bitter rivals, the New York Yankees. Known as the Bambino, Ruth was not only Boston's greatest asset, but a force that seemed blessed, touched by an otherworldly power. But this sale was no ordinary transaction. It was a betrayal, an offence to the very spirit of victory. Soon after, Boston's golden age faded. For the next 86 years, as Babe Ruth's star rose with the Yankees, the Red Sox were plagued with failure after failure, each season bringing cruel heartbreak. Fans began to believe they were cursed, haunted by Ruth's ghost, vengeful and unrelenting. They whispered that he had cursed the team, binding them to an endless cycle of defeat, an eternal punishment for the betrayal. The curse of the Bambino was born, and the city felt the shadow of dread every time their team reached the brink of victory, only to be torn down as if by some unseen, malicious hand. Terrifyingly, the curse seemed to manifest in bizarre ways. Balls veered off course at the last second. Players fumbled as if gripped by an invisible force. Even the stadium lights flickered ominously during critical moments. Fans fans watched with growing unease, knowing something dark loomed over their team. Game after game, year after year, hope turned to horror, then despair, as Boston's beloved team fell to seemingly supernatural misfortune. But in 2004, the impossible happened. The Red Sox, against all odds, won the World Series, breaking the curse. The city rejoiced, yet some fans remained haunted. They wondered, did they truly break the curse, or merely awaken it? Tonight's story takes us to the mysterious legend of the Bunny Man, a figure lurking in the shadows with an axe in hand. Close your eyes, relax, and let this eerie tale drift you to sleep. The Bunny Man is an eerie urban legend that took root in Fairfax County, Virginia in 1970 and has since spread across the Washington, D.C. area. The story has been retold in many forms, but the core of the legend centres around a mysterious figure dressed in a rabbit costume, referred to as the Bunny Man, who reportedly terrorises people with an axe. The legend is said to have originated from two strange incidents. The first took place in October 1970, when a young couple parked their car near a secluded area to talk. Suddenly, a man in a bunny suit appeared out of nowhere, wielding an axe. He angrily yelled at them about trespassing on his property before smashing the car window with the axe. Fortunately, the couple was able to drive away unharmed, but the encounter left them shaken. The second incident occurred just 10 days later. A security guard noticed a man dressed in a similar rabbit costume standing on the porch of a newly built home. The Bunny Man allegedly began hacking away at the structure with an axe, yelling that the house was built on his land. By the time authorities arrived, the Bunny Man had vanished, leaving behind a scene of destruction and confusion. From these two reports, the legend of the Bunny Man grew, and with it, many variations began to emerge. Some versions of the tale claim that the Bunny Man is the ghost of an escaped mental patient who had a psychotic break and now haunts the area, seeking revenge on anyone who crosses his path. Others suggest that the Bunny Man is still alive, lurking in the woods of Virginia, waiting for the next unsuspecting victim. The most notorious version of the legend involves the Bunny Man Bridge, a secluded railway overpass near Clifton, Virginia. According to some, this bridge is where the Bunny Man is most likely to appear, especially on Halloween night. Witnesses have claimed to hear strange noises or even see the shadowy figure of the Bunny Man wielding his infamous axe. While there is no solid evidence to prove the existence of the Bunny Man, the legend has persisted for decades, fueling local folklore and unsettling the imaginations of those who dare to explore the areas where the Bunny Man is said to roam. On the windswept shores of Cape Henlopen State Park, where the Atlantic whispers ancient secrets to the rugged cliffs, there prowls an eerie phenomenon known as the corpse light. To the untrained eye, it might appear a beacon of safety, a lighthouse guiding weary travellers home. But to those familiar with its cursed history, it is a harbinger of doom, a deceptive glow that leads only to despair and the smugglers, heavy with illicit cargo, spied a light gleaming through the dense fog. Believing it to be the lighthouse, they steered their vessel towards it, hearts light with relief. But as they drew closer, the light mysteriously vanished, leaving them to the merciless embrace of the rocks. The ship was shattered, swallowed by the hungry sea, and all hands were lost to the depths. From that night on, the corpse light appeared sporadically, always to unsuspecting sailors, its ghostly glow a false promise of safety. Tales spread of a spectral lantern held aloft by a shadowy figure clad in the tattered remnants of colonial garb, doomed to forever reenact his treachery. Some whispered that he was the spirit of a lighthouse keeper who had conspired with pirates, others that he was a wronged sailor, seeking vengeance against those who sailed these cursed waters. Local folklore insists that to see the corpse light is an omen of impending disaster. Fishermen refuse to set sail if the light is seen, and sailors mutter prayers when passing the cape after dusk. It's not just the beacon that terrifies them, but the sudden cold that seeps into the bones at its sighting, and the inexplicable malaise that descends upon the beholder. On stormy nights, when the thunder rolls and lightning illuminates the sea, the corpse light dances across the waves, elusive and taunting. Some brave souls have tried to follow it, to uncover its origins or end its spectral wanderings, yet none have succeeded, and many have not returned, their fates whispered in hushed tones in the local taverns. The corpse light remains one of the most chilling legends of Cape Henlopen, a reminder of the sea's dark power to enchant and ensnare. It continues to haunt the coastline, a phantom lighthouse that guides not to safe harbour, but to a watery grave, its mournful light a testament to the souls it has claimed. Let's dive into the eerie tale of Carmen Winstead, a chilling urban legend that's been passed down through whispers. Relax, get comfortable, and let this haunting story lull you to sleep. Carmen Winstead was a 17-year-old high school student, an ordinary girl by most accounts. But her life took a horrifying turn one fateful day. It all started when her family moved to a new town. Carmen found herself struggling to fit in, especially with a group of girls who often bullied her. They teased her relentlessly, picking on her for things as trivial as her clothes and her quiet demeanour. One afternoon, during a fire drill at school, the bullying escalated to a deadly level. Carmen and the other students were lined up outside, next to an open manhole that led deep into the town's sewer system. As the drill went on, Carmen's tormentors decided to pull a cruel prank. They started pushing and shoving her closer to the edge, laughing as Carmen tried to maintain her balance. But things quickly spiraled out of control. With one final shove, Carmen lost her footing and plummeted into the open manhole. The fall was long and deadly, and when she hit the bottom, her neck snapped, killing her instantly. The bullies, realizing the horror of what they had done, panicked. Instead of confessing, they decided to lie. They told the teachers and authorities that Carmen had simply fallen in by accident. The school and police accepted their story, and Carmen's death was ruled a tragic accident. But Carmen's story didn't end there. Soon after her funeral, the girls who had been responsible for her death started receiving strange emails and messages. The emails claimed to be from Carmen herself, warning them that they would soon face justice for what they had done. At first, the girls dismissed the messages as a sick joke, but as time passed, one by one, they started to disappear. Each girl met a mysterious end, found dead in the same way Carmen had died, pushed into a sewer, their necks broken. Their deaths were unexplained, and rumours rumours spread through the school. Then the emails began circulating more widely, warning others, "Pass this message on, or Carmen will come for you." The urban legend of Carmen Winstead, sometimes referred to as Jessica Smith, became infamous. People believed that failing to forward the message would bring Carmen's vengeful spirit to their doorstep, claiming them just as she did her tormentors.